Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl back again for another TV show spoiler review. And I'm talking about the season 3 of Mandalorian. And first off, I want to start by saying thank y'all for checking out the channel. Uh, I know this is very soon, right after I just did like a review on Chainsaw Man, which is blowing up on my YouTube channel right now. Didn't realize how much A, so many people care about that show, and B, how many people have been checking it out because they've been loving my content and for the longest time. So thank you all. If you haven't already, please check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkativecarl. Also my Patreon, where you can subscribe and submit certain requests for certain reviews that you want me to discuss, as well as my Twitter, my Twitch, and also I'm very closely reaching my 400 subscriber goal. If you haven't subscribed already, or somebody might enjoy my content, please share this, subscribe, and once we make that 400 subscriber milestone, I will be doing a Hot Ones challenge video where I'll be answering 10 questions via like Twitter or YouTube and trying out each of the hot sauces from the Hot Ones show. Hopefully you guys don't mind. It's thunderstorming outside right now, so hopefully it doesn't affect like the power, but I'm going to make this fairly quick, like at least try to keep it in like 30 minutes, because I want to get to my comic book review of the first Spider-Verse comic book event, and that's going to be a long one, so I just want to make sure that I put in enough time for that. So anyway, last we left off with Mando. He was, he got back with Grogu. If you watched the end of Boba Fett, he was initially with Luke, after the events of the end of Mandalorian season 2. But, because they gotten so attached and, Den misses him, they eventually got back together. So now, after, revealing his face in front of people at the end of Mandalorian season 2, now he's, been excommunicado from his tribe. In order to become part of this tribe, or cult as some people like to joke about, he has to purify himself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka on the planet Mandalorian. But he needs the location, so he goes to see he needs to go see Bo-Katan, but first, because the planet, from everybody's assumption, is poisonous after the Mandalorian purge by the Empire during the start of the Galactic Empire and after Order 66. So Mando goes back to Carl Weathers. I know he has an actual actor name, but a character name, but I can't remember it, so I just call him Carl Weathers. And he's a magistrate on the planet where initially it's where Mando went to get bounties and stuff like that. It was like on the outer rim, and currently right now it's been repurposed to be a more peaceful planet, but independent from the Rebel Alliance. And Rebel Alliance is like, okay, fine, just do what you need to do. My issue is, because they get hassled by these pirates now, it's like, and it's getting serious, they ain't gonna want to come help you, because like, oh, you're not part of the the alliance, so you won't be independent, so you're gonna have to handle your own stuff, which kind of weird. It's like, I don't know why Moff Mothma would, you can allow a planet to be independent, but you also can't allow certain devastation to happen on a particular planet. It's just, then what's the point of you fighting this Galactic Empire for if you don't at least try to step in if harm is being done? But so Din Djarin needs a droid in order to test the toxicity on the planet Mandalore. So he only trusts IG-88, if you recall from season 1, you know, because he was repurposed to be like a nursemaid by Nick Nolte character. Now he risked his life or circuits to save Grogu, so he's the only one that Mando would trust from this kind of task. But Babu Frick, the characters from Rise of Skywalker, tried to fix up IG-88 to be back his former self, but since he's, you know, this type of model is a very old model, he needs old parts, which they don't have anymore. It's kind of like trying to use a floppy disk in, you know, today's 2023 day and age. It just isn't like gonna be feasible. You need like a working one. So Mando ends up trying to go to the mechanic lady, and she gives him an astromech instead. And he doesn't want an astromech, he wants the parts, he wants to get IG-88, but you know, you get what you're going to get. So he goes all the way to, you know, Bo-Katan to give, she doesn't want to do anything with the Mandalorians and everything like that, because she's still in her feelings about the dark saber that's supposed to help unite all the Mandalorians, because the first Mandalorian Jedi wielded the dark saber and all the Mandalorians followed him. So since she still feels responsible for surrendering to Moff Gideon, because he swore nothing will happen to the Mandalorians if she surrendered, you know, and he took the dark saber on top of all that, but it still went with the purge. So she has her own little arc thing going on. So she's feeling some type of way, guilty, you know, about what happened to her people, because, you know, if you watch the Clone Wars, she's related to people who actually were leaders of Mandalore. So Din goes all the way to the planet Mandalore while teaching Grogu how to map the system and everything like that, you know, being like a dad and everything like that. He has the astromech go out on the surface to test the toxicity. He gets ambushed by these beasts that kind of look like the abominable snowman alien from Hoth. Not exactly, but pretty close looking like. And so Din has to go out and find that astromech so he can do the toxicity check and fight off those beasts. But before he did it, he did some kind of sealed airlock thingamajig on his mask, kind of like, you know, he's like, you know, like he's traveling on a planet that has no oxygen kind of situation. So I'm thinking to myself, whoa, what's all this? It's like, this is when you have that. If you had that, you could have at least gone to the store, you know, or the mechanic lady, get some kind of tool that tests toxicity, seal up your helmet, go out on the surface yourself, test it, and see if it's poisonous. If you can prevent yourself from breathing anything that might be toxic, you just have to, if it only has like a time limit of giving you recycled air, then if it's like, you know, 2-3 minutes, then like, you know, you can just dip out really quick, you know, like run tests and then hop right back in. But that's like, okay, what was the point of this? Like, here's the thing, I'm getting tired of the fetch quest stuff, and I mean, not just, you know, Mandalorian, but Star Wars in general. It's like, I won't say tolerate that, but I can forgive it if it's like the first season and you taking time to get to know the character doing these fetch quest stuff. But after a certain point, you shouldn't be doing it anymore, in my opinion. It kind of reminds me, if you watched Ed, Edd n Eddy back in the day on Cartoon Network, there's one particular episode that kind of reminds me of this kind of situation where the three Eds are trying to get some kind of item or jawbreaker or something like that, or at least money for jawbreakers, something like that. I can't be 100% on that, but they needed an item. But the person they went to, the kid, one of the kids in the neighborhood, says like, "Oh, I'll trade you for this other thing," and they know another kid in the neighborhood has that thing, so they go to them, and they said like, "Oh, I'll give you this if you trade me for that." So they go to another kid who they know has that, and they go on and on and on till they complete around the cul-de-sac with all the kids, and then they go right back, from the prior kid to the prior kid to the prior kid until back to the first kid in order to get the item that they need. That's what it feels like with Din Djarin in each season. It's like, he shouldn't be doing the fetch quest stuff. He should, like, I'm pretty sure by Mandalorian season 4, he'll probably be sticking to these solo one episodic adventures, kind of like what Clone Wars did once, Rebels did a few times, and and especially like Jedi, Tales of the Jedi. It's just like you've proven, Dave Filoni and the others have proven that you can tell one-shot episodic stories, and it'll be enough. They should have done that moving forward in season 3 going forward. So that's how I feel. Like, I really don't care for the fetch quest crap. It's like you don't need to do that no more. That's one of my biggest gripes in the season, honestly. It's not like, still, it's not a terrible show, but terrible season, but it's just like, God, it's like so discombobulated here and there. And you still got Moff Gideon they're tangling with, and it's like, I think after the end of season 2, that should be the end of Moff Gideon. And I get it, he has a situation with Bo-Katan, but he shouldn't be the overarching villain no more. He was locked up, and Bo-Katan goes to try to get at him or something like that, to get a revenge or something or other, just to get some kind of closure. But then again, that'll be taken away from the actual focus, which should be on Mandalorian, which brings up another issue that I have with the Star Wars shows in general. And I think it started with Boba Fett, to be honest with you. Stop letting other characters hijack the current show that we're trying to focus on. Like, Mandalorian should be not swooping in at the tail end of Boba Fett when we should be following Boba Fett only. Because he pretty much hijacked the show, let's be honest. Princess Leia hijacked Kenobi series. I'm sorry, that's how I feel. She's a great actress, and I'm pretty sure she would do well in Hollywood moving forward. But honestly, she hijacked the show. Just make a little Princess Leia kids show. If you want to focus on that, and let Kenobi and Vader deal with their problems, and be the focus. Right now, we saw the Ahsoka trailer, and when it was first announced we'll have an Ahsoka TV show, I was like, cool, but she should be the focus. And I know you bring in Admiral Thrawn, who personally I don't think is like a real considerable threat, despite what book he might be in to show off his stuff. From the visual stuff from the shows that I'm seeing, he is not like anything to write home about. Personally, I don't think so. People, I think fans hype him up more than what he actually is. Until I see him pull some stuff like Vader did, killing random people in the middle of the street to draw Kenobi, or kill a bunch of people in the hallway like in Rogue One kind of situation. Unless I see him do some slaughterhouse stuff, he's nothing that special. He's just cool looking, and that is it. He's an action figure. But you make Ahsoka Rebels / Clone Wars Part 2.5, and it's like, That is another, grievance I have, and it's like it's like unfocused to a certain extent, to a certain point of view. I just want to be able to watch a Kenobi series and just be about him be the focus. I don't care about Leia. I mean, you can have her in there for maybe like one episode just to see her and her age, because yeah, we don't do much with young Princess Leia. But if you, because you're pretty much using, like, it's like, you like Mandalorian, for example, using him as like backdoor pilots into making other shows. It's clear as day. We kind of caught on after season 2 that you're making backdoor pilots. That's what Disney's doing right now. They're making backdoor pilots, like using what's working to test the waters of other characters. 1 second. My chair is sliding down. And it's like, I get why you're doing it, but at the same time, you're doing it way too often to have people. I can't speak of everybody, but it just feels kind of personally to me like, okay, you kind of ran this gimmick to the ground. Because you did that with like Mandalorian, to be fair, where you get Boba Fett into this thing, and some people push back saying like, hey, what is with Boba Fett? He was just a cool looking dude in Empire that we saw, and now people built this kind of weird fantasy in their head and make him seem like the most dangerous bounty hunter in the world. So that's what Disney and Lucas really lean into. And not saying like Boba Fett is a bad character, but he never really offered anything, and people don't know what his overall goal is in his own show, and that is an issue. And it's like, it's kind of like they pulled Mandalorian. It's like, oh my god, this show is tanking. We need to bring in the ringer. Let's bring in what worked that everybody loved. We got Mandalorian. Please stick on Boba Fett so we know what's going on. It's like, and that goes to show what's going on with Disney as a whole, with Marvel included. It's like you putting too much, you putting out quantity over quality sometimes. And I know they're hanging back now, but it's just like, enough of these backdoor pilot crap. If you got a pilot for a Ahsoka show, let's just focus on Ahsoka and her overarching villain be Thrawn. That's it. And like, you want to bring back these rebel, because I bet you those people from the Rebel show are going to just take up most of the season. And it's like, you might just make Rebels live action Rebels series years later kind of situation, so that way we can focus on them, because we already had which there's 2 big highlights of this season that I want to point out. The guy who did like the motion capture for Jar Jar Binks and the voice, he gets to come back in a flashback as a Jedi who helped Grogu get off Coruscant during the Jedi Purge, and he was badass. And I'm so happy he got his redemption, because people dragged him years ago for just playing a role. It was Lucas who created this freaking character that does not work, and he's just his voice is grating to the ears. And also, you get Zeb from Rebels in live action, voiced by the great Steve Bloom. And I was like, okay, those stood out big time. But it's fine where you see like certain the TV show animated people show up in live action here and there throughout the live action stuff. I'm not saying you can't do that, because I'm still waiting for a live action Cal Kestis and Starkiller to show up at some point. They already showed BB-8 in Boba Fett, but they should not take up the whole show, because I bet you those Rebel characters will take up most of the Ahsoka show, where she going to have half of the season to be the focus, and she should be all the focus. Or at least if she will share any time, will be with the villain. That's my worry. Because I'm looking forward to the Ahsoka show. Don't get me wrong. I love Ahsoka. But those Rebels dudes going to hijack that show. I'm just like Mando hijacked Boba Fett, just like Princess Leia hijacked Kenobi series. And here in Mandalorian season 3, Bo-Katan kind of hijacked Mando's show, because halfway through we're just following along with what's going on with Bo-Katan and her trying to seize the Darksaber and reclaim Mandalore and unite everybody. And it's like, okay, why can't you just make a Bo-Katan show? Because she already has like the goodwill with Star Wars fans, where if you just announced a Bo-Katan show years ago, people will already be on board, and the main plot will be her claiming the Darksaber and taking down Moff Gideon, or he, after he gets locked up, you know, trying to break in to kill him for what he did to the Mandalorian people. And that could have been like the main focus. We can just focus on her, because right now I want to focus on Din Djarin. That's who I want to care about right now. Anyway, I'm getting off tangent here. So once, you know, he gets on the planet Mandalore, he finds out it's not toxic. It was all a rumor. He travels deep inside trying to find like the waters so he can purify himself, but he gets trapped by this machine alien thing. He drops the Darksaber. And this is like stressing the attention to disbelief. Very thin. Okay, you're stretching it very thin for me to believe that, yeah, Grogu is technically 50, even though he's like a baby. You only just taught him how to map out the system, but he somehow, yeah, sure, he had the Force and everything like that, but you kind of, like I said, you're stretching it pretty thin here. He hops on this egg. He, you know, floats back to the ship while trying to maneuver around these, like, you know, giant mutated rats or whatever, or bat things. He goes back to the ship, points to the map, to the astromag, where to go back to Bo-Katan, because he hears, like, you know, tells him, like, go get Bo-Katan. So he goes back to, you know, where Bo-Katan is. Bo-Katan then goes with Grogu, saves Din, you know, uses Darksaber to kill that alien creature, gives the saber back to him, even though he should be like, right away. He does it later, but right away it's like, well, I was captured, I dropped it, you picked it up, now it's yours by right. So they should have been done that if they was planning that anyway. But you're trying to make a big reveal, a big spectacle about it later on. But he purifies himself. He gets dragged in the water by this big creature that was thought dead, but, you know, has like the face that represents the sigil of the Mandalorian people. Forgot the beast's name, but she saves Din, and in the process goes into the waters. She's technically purified. They go all the way back to the armorer and the other Mandalorians, and since they're pure now, they're welcome back to the tribe, which Bo-Katan has, I want to say, mixed feelings, but she spent all this time doing things her own way because she didn't feel, any connection with her own people, because after the whole Clone Wars and, you know, situation with Rebels, during that, from that time up until now, has been kind of strained. Now she feels more camaraderie. She feels part of a team now that she haven't felt in a long time, which I appreciate. I just, you know, didn't have that kind of same. There's a lot of moments that you didn't get that kind of feeling, like the same feeling you got when you see Luke Skywalker come in and save the day from these dark troopers that's about to kill Din Djarin, Bo-Katan, and all the other people that's held up in Moff Gideon's command area. and it's just like that feeling that bubbled up in your stomach, and you just had like a wild ride of a time. You don't get that here. You should be feeling it, or at least some level of emotion. It's like, I feel nothing. It's like on paper it sounds great, but it's just like, it's not to say you feel nothing, like you know the importance of it, but it's just like you should be getting a rise out of it, something like a huzzah kind of moment when she eventually takes down Moff Gideon. And oh my god, and I forgot the worst episode in my opinion was we get Jack Black, Lizzo, and Christopher Lloyd in one of these episodes. Like, why make this episode? And it's like one of those filler episodes that I cannot stand, that adds to nothing. Oh my god, it was a complete waste of money, mostly because like how much you think Christopher Lloyd, Lizzo, and Jack Black would cost all together? Well, you could have just been at the very least settle on one cameo. And don't get me started on Lizzo. It's like, I don't mind her as an artist. I'm not like a huge fan of hers, but it's like the director only gave her, I don't know how many takes it took just to get this, because it feels like just one take. It was like a cold read, and she's supposed to play like a very aristocratic kind of, matriarch kind of situation, and it comes off so cringy and corny. And it's like, how many takes did you put her through in order to make sure it comes off a little bit more authentic than was delivered? Her delivery was, poor. I'm sorry. And Jack Black, slightly less so because he's more of like a seasoned actor. So, I'm not only like 70 to 80% with him with his portrayal of this kind of patriarch. Because they're helping them investigate, these robots. Another planet's independent. Investigate these robots that seemingly turn on, people at random. Turns out it was Christopher Lloyd, who was a separatist. And I remember talking with a friend of mine at work, was like, wow, separatists. I'd be like, if I was like Bo-Katan, I'd be like, no, I haven't seen you guys in a while. How y'all been? It's like with all the like Clone Wars, then the Empire situation. After the Clone Wars, it's like, then like, the Empire situation, the troopers and all this stuff. It's been a lot happen that makes the Clone Wars so far away, and it's like, wow, I haven't. And he's like, he used to work under Dooku, and I was like, wow, that's been a minute. But like I said, it could have been just him or just Jack Black at the very least. I don't know about Lizzo, man. I could not stand that episode. That was cringy. But since Bo-Katan now has a darksaber, she's able to reunite all the Mandalorians, the ones who choose to not wear the helmet, and those who wear the helmet Mandalorian mandatory, and bring them together, because they're first Jedi Mandalorian used that saber to unite his people, and then by right they have to follow that person as the leader, no questions asked. So they trying to reestablish their foothold on Mandalore again, come to realize, and then this whole situation with like this flying dragon and everything like that, but that's not really important. The important part was just Grogu in the forge area, as the armor is making him like a little big, those big button things that people running for office used to pin on people and stuff like that. It looks like one of those things, and he just pin on this little baby that's nearly the size of his own torso. The only important part of that episode was just watching the flashback with Grogu, and they never revisited. It's so weird. Why would you revisit something that's people think is very key to because all this stuff with Gideon and like the M count and the scientists, the nerdy scientist from season 1 who makes a comeback here, along with one of Gideon's officers who worked under him, being part of the Rebel Alliance, but she's a double agent pretty much. And she lobotomized the nerd, probably out of revenge for, turning against them. And probably utilizing that, same cloning formula to eventually do what they were going to end up doing with Snoke in the sequel trilogy and Palpatine by extension. Because Gideon makes his own army of himself that has like the combined power of the Jedi Force along with the armor of the Mandalorians. Because every Moth has his or her own agenda for domination in some shape or form. So, they get ambushed by Gideon, one of the big tanky dudes that we seen from way from the beginning of season 1 of Mandalorian. Gets taken down, but he goes down like a badass. That's another cool part that I really, really like, because he had that, Gatling gun, and he was like, "This is the way," and then like make sure his other fellow Mandalorians get out safely, and he just takes and like fights off. That was like another highlight for me. So Mando briefly gets captured, but he, thanks to Grogu, he gets out of his capture and he fights off these stormtroopers wearing like Mandalorian gear, Mandalorian troopers, I guess, and he takes on Moff Gideon, while the other Mandalorians combat what little stormtroopers Moff Gideon has under his leadership, and a awesome aerial fight ensues. I gotta give it that. It looks great, really great. And so now it's Grogu, Bo-Katan, and Din fighting against Moff Gideon, who's wearing this, souped up Mandalorian armor, and he crushes the Darksaber. So I guess you can rebuild it, I guess, but that was shocking. Wow, I didn't know anybody would have the balls to actually destroy such an important tool that we've seen for many, series since the Clone Wars up until this point. But he, Gideon dies in a fire, which after the 3rd season, it's hard to believe that they'll not try to pull him back and do like a Darth Vader thing where he's all messed up and he's fused to the suit or something. I don't know, but it's like, man, y'all should have just gone with like a different overarching villain. It's like you went with, it makes sense after the end of season 1 he didn't die. Okay, cool. He didn't die in a crash. Sometimes people survive crashes, but then after he gets captured and at the end of Mandalorian season 2, they should have made sure that Moff Gideon gets locked up and get some kind of serious detail on him or something like that. The rebels kind of slacking or resting on their laurels right now and not pay attention. But it's like, I love Giancarlo Esposito as the next person, but it's like he had 2 seasons for him to be the overarching villain. They need to move on. They should have moved on with somebody else. But then the season ends with Din adopting Grogu officially, even though it's like you already been doing that from the jump. They relight the forge on Mandalore, reestablishing their home and beginning rebuilding. Din goes to the Rebel Alliance and see this cop friend, and it's like, I'm gonna be on the outer rim. You're gonna need somebody out there, because I still need work as a bounty hunter, but now that I'm raising a kid, I need to be able to get some work that's not too dangerous. And he settles on the planet with Carl Weathers. Got a nice little homestead, and the episode ends with a freaking not like the Looney Tunes, but look like might as well have been like the Looney Tunes, zoom thing they did on Grogu, and it might as well have played like the Looney Tunes things on. You might as well have played that, because that's what it felt like. Okay, I might as well have been watching a freaking cartoon, because it's just this season was so discombobulated. It's like, it's a lot of stuff that was so important, but majority of that I felt nothing for. Aside from the Jar Jar actor getting his comeback, as an awesome badass Jedi that helped get Grogu off the Coruscant and prevent him getting killed by during the Purge. Seeing Zeb from Rebels in live action, that's pretty dope. And the aerial fight you see the Mandalorians have against the Mandalorian troopers, that was pretty dope. But those are the highlights in my opinion. Everything else seems not lackluster, but it's just cool. But man, it's just and it's the main thing, I could probably excuse a lot of stuff, but then the main thing I really wish they do is enough of the fetch quest. I think that's probably got me more so than anything else. But if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think. How did you feel at the end of season 3 of Mandalorian if you watched it? What worked for you? What didn't work for you? Because I think season 2 is my top favorite. Season 1, second favorite, and this would probably be the bottom tier, honestly. After the Ahsoka series, even though I did a tier listing and I automatically put Ahsoka series on S tier, because I feel like it's gonna be an automatic S tier given how much people love the character. But this is prior to our knowledge of the Rebel people making a return in live action. I'm pretty sure they'll do a great job, but it's just after the Ahsoka series is done, I'm going to have to come back to my Star Wars YouTube tier listings, which you can check out on YouTube as well, youtube.com/talkative_Carl. I'm going to have to probably rework some stuff, add in a couple of things like Bad Batch Season 2. I don't know if I had the Kenobi series on the list. I'm pretty sure I did. And the Mandalorian Season 2 and 3. And just, work some stuff around, because Disney as a whole gonna have to prioritize quality over quantity, because that's what they've been, their big missteps, especially in Marvel, that they've been doing. Even though I like Phase 4 more so, I guess I might be in a minority in this, because I think people kind of focus on the bad stuff and let it outshine mainly good stuff that we was enjoying along the way. And it's they should just I don't know who, what the CEO of that time was, but he or she was just dumping everything on us, where it should have just been maybe 2, 3, probably just 2 per year, and just space it out, so that way we can have time to digest some stuff and make sure there's some level of connectivity. Because you look at Moon Knight and Miss Marvel, where's the connectivity kind of situation? How they line up with something like Shang-Chi and Doctor Strange 2 kind of things. They had to have some kind of string to connect them all in some fashion, like the first 3 phases did. And Star Wars right now is going to be in that same boat, where it's stop hijacking each other's shows and just focus on who you're supposed to be focusing on, and stop fetch questing. But anyway, I will see you guys in a little bit, because I will be doing the rest of the night. I'm gonna be doing one of my longest comic book spoiler reviews for the channel. I'll be talking about the first Spider-Verse comic event, and it's gonna be a lot. I got a lot to say, but that's probably gonna be well over an hour. So I just want to make sure this spoiler review is gonna be brief. So anyway, I will see you guys in a little bit. Like and subscribe, comment, and share this with your friends, and I'll see you all in a little bit. Peace.